Warning, the following program has been rated T for truth.
You can't handle the truth!
Oh, we think you can. Welcome to the Naked Truth Report with your host, truth warrior and mythbuster Kathleen Wells. The place where we distinguish fact from fiction, where data is used to drive points home, and where Kathleen takes the position that Democrats and black politicians have destroyed black America. Welcome to the Naked Truth Report. Now, your host, Kathleen Wells.
Hey, this is Kathleen Wells, your truth warrior, and the host of the Naked Truth Report, and I'm pre-recording at the FAIR, Federation for Immigration Reform FAIR's Hold Your Feet to the Fire radio event, and it's being held at the Phoenix Hotel in D.C. I'm excited to be here. This is my first year. This has been going on for years, actually, and this is my first year here, and I'm delighted to have with me as my first guest. We're pre-recording this. This will be heard on my show on Sunday. As my first guest, former Congressman Tom Tancredo, who's represented the 6th District of Colorado from 1999 to 2009, and he has been characterized as a hardliner on immigration. But you know what? Being from LA, we know that Tom Tancredo is absolutely right and on point. Right, Tom?
Well, I couldn't say it any better, of course. But I'll tell you this. There's some degree of irony here. If I'm your first guest and you're the first time here, because I was actually I was here the very first time we ever did this, however many, 15 some years ago.
Wow.
Yeah, because I was in Congress then, and they started this, and I've been coming back ever since. And as a matter of fact, the only thing I now come back for to Washington, I left Congress voluntarily in 2009, and ran for the Republican nomination for president in 2007 because on this issue.
Right.
Nothing else. I was not delusional. I never thought for a millisecond that I was going to be nominated.
Right.
But I did try my best to force everybody on that stage because I was lucky enough. I had made enough noise on this issue, spoken enough on it, that I had the percentage high enough in support to get into the debates and contributors. And so I even came in third in the Iowa straw poll out of 9 people, which, believe me, amazed me as much as anybody. Okay?
But before I want to back up a little bit. Before we get into the issue, we're going to talk about immigration. That's the main issue. But since you ran for president, I want you to touch on this issue about Pelosi saying they're going to start an impeachment inquiry as if they haven't started it before. Give us your take on that. And it's based on the fact that this so-called whistleblower complaint
that no one has seen.
But Trump did release the transcripts today.
Right.
Okay, talk to us about that.
Well, I believe me, I think it was another mistake, another attempt, I suppose, to do what they have determined to be their raison d'etre. You know, their reason for living up here is to get rid of Donald Trump. This is one more step, but I think it is, again, going to backfire on them. I really believe it. It's funny. Yesterday, I was having a drink over at the Trump Hotel, this beautiful hotel down the block, and in the bar with another radio guy from Colorado, and we were sitting there, and they had 2 TVs on above the bar. Now, this is in the Trump Hotel. Mm-hmm. And one, believe it or not, was CNN, and the other was Fox. I don't know why they leave the CNN, but they did. Well, all of a sudden, it come in their broadcasting that the Democrats have just decided, and Nancy Pelosi comes out, does her speech, right? Mm-hmm. Not a soul in that place looking at it. Nobody cared, And I mean, I don't know if it was a microcosm of what was happening around the country or not. I have a tendency to think that was true. I don't think, believe me, he's not a dumb guy. President Trump knows what he's doing every step of the way. People think that he's sort of always shooting from the hip. It's really not true. He is very, very calculated in how he approaches everything. And I assure you that he knew what he was doing when he spoke to the Ukrainian. I haven't seen the transcript, so I can't say. But I feel confident in saying they're not going to get him on it. and it's going to again backfire on them.
More of the same from the Democrats.
Yeah.
More of the same, which is nothing. So you can see that the Naked Truth Report is hosted by Pro English.
Yeah.
We're sponsored rather. That's
Great.
We're sponsored by Pro English. So
And Epic Times, I know them too.
the Epic Times, and we're also we've got Progressives for Immigration Reform, which I don't know if you're familiar with that
No,
organization.
that one I don't
but
know.
Kevin Lynn is the directors. But they're progressives who believe that legal immigration should be limited, and there should be no illegal aliens. That's your position. But in regards to Pro English, you also take the position that English should be the official language of America. Talk to us about that.
Of course, absolutely true. Look, here's the thing. When my grandparents came here, and I imagine a lot of people listening have the same situation, but because a lot of folks came around that same period, in 1900 or so, my grandparents came 1894 from Italy. Okay, all four. They didn't come together, but they all came over, met here, got married. All came to Colorado, by the way. Is that not odd? But thank God. I love you, Lord, for letting that happen. And that's where, I was born and lived there all my life. But my parents then were therefore first-generation Americans, right? Mm-hmm. My parents couldn't speak 10 words of Italian. And they couldn't because my grandparents wouldn't let them. Now, I wish, in a way, that was not the case. I wish I could speak another language. I wish I was bilingual. I have enough problem with the language that I supposedly know. Mm-hmm. But I still remember to this day. The point was that my grandparents were trying their best to become Americans. They wanted to assimilate into this country. They wanted to become Americans in their heart, and they wanted people to know that they wanted to be Americans, right? Mm-hmm. And so therefore, one of the things they did was to demand from their children that they spoke only English. Now, little anecdote. We would pick up my grandparents on Sunday for church, and then a lunch, and then a ride. Now this was a big deal. You go for a ride, right? Shutter up the windows. Stop the newspaper. We're gonna go for a ride.
Well, I'm from that. I'm a baby boomer, so I can relate.
Okay, so we'd go for a ride. Now, this is the 60s and late 50s, and no air conditioning in our car.
Right.
And it's summertime maybe, and by 3 o'clock we'd go to the Dairy Queen. Meet there. I mean, that was always the last stop on this little thing I explained. And by that time, my grandparents in the back seat were in a fight about something, and it was hot and everything. And so my grandfather would lapse into Italian into his argument. And I still remember to this day my grandmother yelling him, going, "Hey, speak American, damn it!" and again, the point is them wanting to people. They wanted to become Americans. Now, we did not abandon our ethnicity. I mean, we're Italian. Okay, I still go to take my kids, believe this or not. Now my grandchildren to the Feast of Saint Rocco.
Right.
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 Now the Feast of Saint. Now I must admit to you that for a long time I wondered. There really was a saint named Rocco? What was he, an enforcer for the apostles or what? I mean, Rocco. But indeed there was, and it's been going on in Denver, this feast, for 100 and some years. And we still go, and we enjoy the Italian ethnicity. That's nothing stops that. But the idea of being an American first, in your heart, in your mind, a commitment to this country is expressed by the language. And the other thing is this. When you have something other than a single language to define a country, what you've got is really and truly almost a Tower of Babel. And you cannot even communicate your differences. You can't even argue and debate issues because you don't know what the other person is really saying. It is an example. It's another thing that is done in order that this pressure to maintain language. In my first bill into the Colorado legislature in 1976. Believe it or not, I was elected. First bill I introduced, I was a teacher, taught civics. I came in, I introduced a bill to abolish bilingual education. And people say, "What? You can't?" I
No,
said,
but
no.
I'm from Los Angeles, and our Los Angeles school district has failed.
Oh my God!
It's complete. We're at the bottom.
Absolutely.
When I went to public school, we were at
The top.
Exactly. We're at the bottom, and it's because of bilingual education.
It truly is.
Yeah.
We do no one any favors.
You're not.
You know what I mean? But what it does do is it solidifies this idea of separate, tribalized,
Exactly.
dividing America.
We're a salad bowl, not a melting pot.
Oh,
like
absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's a very dangerous thing.
It's very dangerous.
For quote, democracy. We're really a republic, of course. But you cannot have diversity being your only common element.
Right.
That is it's a oxymoronic thought.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Diversity is fine. It cannot be what defines you as a nation.
Right.
You have to have something that holds you together.
And I think even George Washington said the language. Either a founding father or George Washington felt that the language must be English.
Yeah,
And
that you have to have something that holds you together.
Binds us as Americans.
And language is it.
Exactly.
And so the more we eschew that, you walk away from it, you demand, you tell people, no, you keep your culture, you keep your language. Yes, you come. There's nothing about America, why would you give up any of this stuff, right? America isn't worth it. There's nothing of value here, right? And so, yeah, I'm telling you, language is extremely important. But it's again, what's happening to us is that we are becoming a balkanized society.
Yes.
And this is what they want. This is what the left and the progressive want. They know that the system that the founders created really is enabled, if you will, by commonality of interest, of and color, nothing has anything to do with that. Ethnicity, it's got nothing to do with it.
Well, the interesting point is that, and I saw an article from the HuffPost where they were criticizing you for sort of saying, not criticizing you, but characterizing your statement that maybe Trump should have, initially when he was talking about Mexican immigrants, he should have rephrased that or been a little softer. But the interesting thing is that the latest polls say that Trump has 46% of support from Mexican Americans,
Yeah.
Latino Americans. Isn't that interesting how
Absolutely.
this has all evolved to the benefit of Trump?
Oh, and how that must just drive the left nuts after all they have done to propagandize the Hispanic and black communities in America.
Well, I'm still trying to get black folks. That number should be much higher. We've been
But
here
it's
forever.
coming.
Well, let's hope. Yeah.
I think so. I believe it's coming up. I tell you, even I've noticed in Colorado, much more support in the black community. Now, what does that translate into? 1-2%? I don't know, but I know it's more than
But it
we
should
had.
be high,
It should. It
Yeah.
absolutely should. You look at everything that is happening in America,
Right.
And I just want people to think of themselves as Americans. I truly, if we could only do what Martin Luther King challenged us to do. If we only had a society that looked not at the color of skin, but what was underneath, and that is what determined what a human being was all about. That would be nirvana to me. That would be heaven. And so the as far as we can go in accomplishing that, and really thinking about things like, what is it I need? I need a job. I need education.
Well,
for
the
my
most
children.
important is, I say on my show, is the family. I think the family is the
Oh,
most
boy.
important institution in society, and our families have disintegrated. Black
What is-
American families have disintegrated under the leadership of liberal ideology.
There's
That's
a-
the position I take.
There's a great book, Losing Ground, and I remember reading it years and years ago, and it was so fascinating because what it did was point out what had happened to the black family in America. And believe me, no one is
Devastating.
discounting the trials and tribulations of blacks in America.
No, but we did better. We had
Oh, my
87% two-parent families in the 40s.
That's right.
And so we've
exactly.
regressed.
40s and 50s.
Exactly.
In
We've regressed.
the 50s, you had black families in America had a lower pregnancy rate for unmarried women, right? Lower than for whites.
Right. They had more two-parent families than white
Yes,
families
absolutely.
in the 40s. We had to
more
stay
more
cohesive.
more
Yeah.
church-going people.
Right. It's just liberal ideology has just destroyed
it.
America.
When you pay people, you get more for what you pay for, what you subsidize, and less for what you tax.
Right.
But when you subsidize when you subsidize homes, with no male in there,
Right.
that's what you're going to get.
That's what you're
right.
going to get. And there's been decades of this utter failure.
Total.
Yeah.
And what it has done to black families and black America, well, what it's done to every family
Right.
that does not have a stability
Right.
factor of two parents, doesn't, and some, God knows that there are problems that cannot be overcome until maybe there's a separation or there's a death or whatever.
But those are the rare circumstances.
They are.
If you have the right values.
Generally speaking, you need a family with mom, dad, kids. That provides stability, and it also provides economic opportunity.
Right. Because the poverty rate for single families, single households is like 70-80% poverty rate.
That's right.
Yeah.
And
households headed by a single family member, a single woman, is 70-80%.
That's exactly
That's the
right.
data from the U.S. Census Bureau.
That's right.
Right.
And there's another aspect to it.
Right.
When you grow up without an extended family connection, you begin, I'm afraid, you see this happening. There is a disconnect to the society at large. You become antisocial. You have no connection really with the society in which you live.
Right.
And that's when you see children without a conscience. They have absolutely, you call it asocial behavior, antisocial behavior. It's because there is no concept of this connectivity.
I agree with that.
And it is so, you watch these programs, all the TV programs that in the nation, all the cop shows and everything, and all these kids are arresting and the murders they're committing and
Right.
stuff without the slightest, tiniest bit of remorse, no conscience. Oh my God, this is very
And
very
I've said this before, is that
destructive.
so many black women are heading households. They have having children out of wedlock. That's selfish because you have a responsibility to society, to not bring in society all these boys who have not been fathered. You have a responsibility. This country is littered with boys who do not have fathers, and you have done. This is a dereliction of duty to the society. We owe society something, as citizens. And this is what I preach on my show. I'm really trying to get my people to get off that Democratic Party because it's been such a bother. It's a burden. It has been, a noose around our necks, so to speak. But that's
Absolutely right.
But anyway, and I'm not politically correct. So the other
I can
thing,
tell.
So the other
But you are correct.
I'm correct, right? But and political correctness has destroyed Black America too. Everything has, okay? Everything that the liberals espouse has destroyed Black America. So the other thing that the other position that you take is about the anchor babies business.
You're crazy anchor babies. Listen, no other country really and truly allows this kind of bizarre activity where you can say, I was flying over the United States and I gave birth to my kid in the steerage air, and now he's a citizen. No, it really doesn't really happen like that. And it's never really even been tested at the Supreme Court level. I'd love to have that test go on now, especially with this Supreme Court, because the only thing that ever went to the court was a decision about a Chinese immigrant in the late 1890s, 1900s, and whether or not they had a baby and whether it was a citizen. Well, the big difference was that particular Chinese immigrant was legally here, right, at the time, and yes, under those circumstances, when you are legally in the country and you have a child, yes, the child is a citizen. But when you're not here legally, there is no historical or legal issue that you can point to that should award that kind of benefit. Because of course, I've been on the border many times, many times in my career. I watched, we had ambulances parked at the ports of entry. Not for people, well, I mean, it would be for any, I guess that happened to you, but primarily to take the people who were coming in who are about to give birth to the hospital to give birth. Nuts. This is crazy. This is crazy stuff, right? I hope we're still not hit. Mr. President, I hope there's one thing you could stop if you're, I'm not sure, check it out, maybe.
He said he would. We don't, I mean, it's just been an arduous task for him to get anything done.
How about this issue of these detention centers and people calling them concentration camps?
And
Right.
Gavin Newsom is introducing a law to make them illegal.
Oh, God. Well, I tell you, I have visited many of these detention centers for years, way back when I was in Congress, right? Now, this is the honest-to-God truth, and I know how it's going to sound to a lot of people, but I'm telling you the truth here. In terms of the facility itself, the health care, the food, the clothing, the opportunity for certain for all kinds of activities, it's better than any place these people came from.
I know.
It's the truth.
Right.
I mean, now they're detained. It's true.
It's not politically correct to say that.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
But I've been there. I've looked
Right.
at it myself. I'm
And
telling
Kenneth
you.
Owens went and saw these places.
One time, this was years ago.
Yeah.
I was still in Congress, right? I'm in Tucson visiting a center. There's a person banging at the gate. It's a guy that has just wandered out of the desert, illegal, right? Demanding to get in to the center, to this detention center.
Right.
Why? Because he needed dental work.
Right.
Dental work.
Right.
And
right.
and they brought him in and of course gave him dental work.
Right.
They then took me to see the medical facilities, MRI, CAT scan, you name it. I said, most of the people in my district do not have access to this kind of health care on demand.
Right.
I can't bang on the door and get you to open it anywhere in my district and give me all this service, right? They get it. Okay, we are a people that is, we are charitable. So I'm not saying this is a bad thing. I'm just saying don't call it a damn concentration camp.
But Republicans need to stop apologizing. That's why we need more me, more
Oh,
Kenneth.
believe me, we need more you. Oh, man.
No, I mean, because I tell it straight,
Yeah.
and Kenneth Owens, it's like no apologies, no holds bar, because you failed Black America Democrats. You have no credibility. You have no credibility on any issue. You have never conceded to destroying Black America. We've been here 400 years. Until you concede that, you really need to zip it. That's the way. That's the way we. But you need more people like me and Kenneth Owens talk, because you guys are too apologetic because they keep calling you racist or white supremacist. So you feel kind of like itchy about it.
Right.
But it's like, because I say the epitome of racism is the destruction of Black America, and Democrats did that. See, and no one talks to them that way. So you've been in Congress, so give us, from 1999 to 2009, give us the inside story on Congress.
Okay, I'm going to tell you a story that describes, I think, the biggest problem with Congress today, and which has been there for probably since it started. I don't know, but this happened to me, and I can tell you when it happened, I thought to myself, wow, this is the example that I will always use when people say, what's wrong with Congress? How come when we elect these people who say all these things they're going to do, they blah, 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 but they go and then, here's why. Here's why.
Hi, this is Kathleen. You were just listening to my interview with Tom Tancredo, and we're going to take a break right now. When we come back, we'll finish that interview. I hope you're enjoying it. Welcome back from the break. And that was part one you were listening to of my interview with Tom Tancredo at FAIR's event last week, the Federation for Immigration Reform's event last week, their Radio Row event in D.C. Here's part two.
We elect these people who say all these things they're going to do, they blah, 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 but they go and then, here's why. Here's why. When I went to Congress, I had this issue. It was the issue I was committed to. This was 1998. I could see I was a teacher, had been a teacher before. I could see the destruction of bilingual education, all the rest of this stuff, and I could see the politicization of the entire our whole system, our whole society, because of massive illegal and legal immigration of people who didn't want to assimilate. Okay, the assimilation was key to good quality immigration. Well, so I'd be talking about this. Now, let me tell you, it was not easy. I had absolutely, and when I say no support, I mean none. None of my colleagues, not the leadership, not the president, they criticized the heck out of me. I was told, never darken the doorstep of the White House. I was told this by Bush's chief of staff. And because I criticized President Bush, and because I criticized the Republican leadership. And I would go out and speak all over the country because I was the only one doing it. So I had all these opportunities. People asked me to come and speak in Florida and Ohio and you know all over the place because I was the only one doing it, not because I was so articulate and fantastic. No, I simply was the only guy talking about it. So I'd go. Well, most of them were Republican groups, that would invite me out. And I'm speaking to the group, and inevitably they'd say, "Well, how's our guy? How's Fred?
Oh.
Or how's Jane?
Right.
They're good Republicans."
Right.
And I'd say, "They're crap.
Right.
They're crap. They're lousy on this issue. Are you kidding?"
Right.
Well, I wouldn't get out of the room when Fred or Jane was on the phone with Tom DeLay, saying, "Hey, Tancredo was just in my district, dissing me. He's a Republican. He comes into my Oh, this is like the ultimate sin, right?" So I get back. Time after time, they call me in. Got to stop this. I said, I can't stop. Listen, people ask me to speak. What am I supposed to do? Pretend when I get there, oh, Fred's great. If you could just get him to actually vote right, it'd be terrific.
Yeah.
But no, he's lousy. I said, no, So finally, DeLay says to me, and he has this finger in my nose type of thing. And he goes, "Listen, you little SOB," he says. Yeah. And by the way, I'm taller than he is. By probably an inch, but I am. And he says, "Listen, you little SOB," he says, "you keep this up." And I'm thinking, my God, what can they do to me? And the way he's saying it, "You'll keep the." I mean, I'm calling my wife. Hey, do they have our kids? Where are they? Are they safe? Do they holding them somewhere? And he go. "You keep this up," he said. "You're going to ruin your career in this place." And I said, "That's it, Tom? That is it?" I said, "Well, I don't know how to break this to you. I don't want a career in this place. I don't even like this place. Do you understand? I don't like it. And so this is not a threat to me." Well, but my point is, he thought it was.
Exactly.
And it was to so many of my colleagues.
Like Maxine Waters.
Oh, well, just you could go, not just
All of them.
All of them. Absolutely, man. If you're telling me, what? I can't become a committee chairman, a subcommittee chairman, my bills won't pass, you won't come out to my district and raise money for me.
Right. They made a career of it.
So you change from whatever you promised your constituents
Exactly.
to now what you promise your leadership, because now you want a career in this place.
Right.
It is the worst, but it tells you everything
It
you need to know
exemplifies,
about what's
problem?
wrong in Congress.
And they're not working for the American people.
No. Now, they'll rationalize. Every one of them would say,
Right.
"Oh, yes, I am. I have to be here because I'm so wonderful. And so I have to do anything to get here because even though, I have to lie, cheat, and maybe lies are wrong. I have to bend the truth here and there. I have to nuance this, nuance that. But I have to because I'm so great."
Well, politics is a dirty business, and that's why we elected Trump. Because not a politician
Oh, my God.
per se,
It's
right?
it is so wonderful. And I'd like to be able to tell you, I'd like to say, I knew all along.
But you didn't.
Oh, man, are you kidding me?
Were you a never Trumper?
Oh, no, never that. But I just never thought he could win. That's all. And so I supported
Cruz. Didn't you support Cruz?
I supported
Yeah.
Cruz. So anyway, the night of the election, I'm supposed to go on television, Denver, Channel 9, the biggest station, just do color commentary, during the, and I'm driving down to the station,
Right.
and I'm thinking, oh my God, how am I going to possibly, how am I going to do this? How am I going to spin this
Right.
so that I can say, you know, it's not the end of the world that she's been elected. We're not the end of Western civilization. How am I going to say that
Right,
and
right,
pretend
right,
like
right.
I'm
But it
okay
would have
with
been. It would have
But
been.
it would have been. And so, oh dear God,
It would have been
you know,
so
this-
bad.
But you know, I get there, and of course, everybody at the station's liberal, and that,
Right.
and this is a big station, all these desks and stuff, and everybody's bubbly, and you know,
Wow, that
this
must
is
have been
so-
fascinating
Oh
for
dear
you.
God, it was amazing. And so by about
Now that's a
7,
story,
8,
yeah.
9 o'clock, right? And now you see what's happening, and I look around, and everybody. I wanted to take a picture. I tried to take a picture of the station. They wouldn't let me because I wanted to say, "Look at this now," because they're crying at their desks. Everybody's morose. Oh, just that's
That had
so
to be
horrible.
so wonderful for you to experience that.
I'm being mic'd up, you know, for they brought us out every 20 minutes
Right.
to see what's happening, you
Right,
know.
right.
And it's just getting better and better, worse and worse for them. And so they're micing me up to about 9 o'clock Denver time. And and the guy, the interviewer, he's sitting over there waiting, and they come and they're working on him. And the girl that's talking to him, I can hear her say to him, she whispers sort of, but it was like this, she's still got a chance. and he jumps and he goes, "Really?" And I said, "No, she doesn't." I said, "Absolutely not." I said, "The New York Times is called. Are you going to argue with the New York Times?" Oh God, it was
She
just the
still
greatest.
has a chance.
Yeah, she still has a chance. Yeah, no. Anyway, it was a great.
And you know, I like watching that montage of the networks
oh,
on
God.
YouTube. There's
And they've never believe me. This is what we're seeing now, though. It's just this. It is everything. They are there for a reason. They hate his guts. They want him gone. Every single thing. Everything. I mean, you know, Donald Trump didn't turn off the light after he left the bathroom. He's losing electric. He's wasting electric. You name it. I don't care what he does.
Right.
It doesn't care. I don't care what.
even
He will
Schumer said yesterday or today, this morning, he said, even if the transcript is released of him talking to the Ukrainian president, we're still going to pursue impeachment.
Yeah, sure,
was-
because as I say, it's the reason they live. But I don't think it's going to benefit them. I don't think so. I pray to God it isn't, because I'm telling you, Trump is no dummy. He is a calculating guy in many respects, and so it's not as if they can catch him in some really huge faux pas. You know, I mean, the things he says, even I think, you know, off the cuff, I think they're not. I think they are designed to elicit a certain response, and they get it. You know, there was a poll came out yesterday. I saw. I think it was Washington, or it was the. It wasn't in the Washington paper, but Wall Street Journal. It was the Wall Street Journal, and it was really the first one I've ever seen like this, where they were trying to determine do you like Trump, and are you going to and do you like his policies, and if do you like Trump but hate his policies, do you like his policies but they went through this whole thing, right, and it showed a lot of people don't like him but like his policies. That is what will get you elected, because you know I'm not electing a pal. I don't care.
No, we
We're
don't
not
want
going
a
to have
friend.
drinks together.
We want a president.
I want a president.
Yeah.
I want him to do what he's doing.
Right.
And God bless him. I mean, for 70, he's only a year,
Right.
I think, older than I. But there's just no way I could operate.
He has a lot of energy,
Oh,
right?
man, I gets like 4 hours
Unlike
sleep
Biden.
and- oh, yeah. Oh, Uncle Joe, Smokey Joe, you know.
Why would he run? Who knows?
Well, they don't. Here's the thing. That's another thing. I believe that part of this impeachment thing on the Ukraine issue is because the Democrats want to use it to zap Trump, but also dump Biden.
And so Warren gets up there?
Yeah, it'll be
Can
Elizabeth Warren.
can you imagine Warren? I mean, come on.
I
The
can't.
Native American?
I can't.
Pocahontas?
Pocahontas. Yeah, right. I used to serve with a guy who was a state U.S. senator and from Colorado, who was about maybe 64th Indian, but he played it out like I mean, it was fantastic. Ben Nighthorse Camp. He was Mr. Indian, and then he does create Indian jewelry. He's got his stuff in the Indian Museum. I mean, he's making a fortune of being
Yeah.
an Indian. He's Portuguese.
Right,
Okay,
yeah.
he's Portuguese, but a lot of people have made a lot out of this, right?
Well, there were
One-
$5 Indians, $5 Indians,
That's
you know,
right.
to get on the doll rolls. They weren't Indian. They just paid $5
That's
to
right.
be
Well, this guy
called.
became, you know,
that's like
every-
Elizabeth Warren. She's a
Just-
fraud.
absolutely.
Yeah.
but,
and that's going to be the Democrat nominee. Come on.
I wore, Colorado, so, you have to wear cowboy boots.
Right.
Cowboy hat. And I have mine. But my wife would always go, got your cowboy boots? She says, well, yeah. She says, if Ben Nighthorse Campbell can pretend to be an Indian, you can pretend to be a cowboy.
Isn't that terrible? But the whole Democratic Party is sort of like phonies and frauds. I mean, because Beto O'Rourke pretends to be Hispanic. He's not,
Right.
And what else? Kamala Harris pretends to be a black. She's riding the Black American experience when her mother is actually Indian American and her father was Jamaican. So she has nothing, and they were students on a visa. So she doesn't have that us Black Americans have a 400-year history in America,
That's
right? But she has a recent history like the 1970s. So, it's all that the Democratic Party is just a group of frauds and cons.
Yes.
They've been conning us forever,
Yes.
and someone needs to call them out. And I think Trump is a perfect person to do
Yeah,
it.
he'll do it too. Absolutely, I think
He
there's no
doesn't back
question
down.
about it. We did this 23andMe thing. My kids
Right.
gave it to us for Christmas, and the little kits or whatever, and so we did and sent it in. It was fascinating. I turned out to be Italian. It was
Like you already knew.
nothing else out, right?
Right,
That was it. But my wife, it was comes back. She's 33% Jewish.
Yeah.
Now, I think it's wonderful, but I said, why? Can't you have 1% of that 33% be the frugality gene that you get from Jews?
She likes
no, that's not there whatsoever. So that's the only thing that we were really missing out of this Jewish thing.
The benefits
The
of
benefit
it.
of
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's fine. It's just great. I'm happy to. But I said, why couldn't you add one little thing there about, no, I want to save some money? No, that's not in there.
Well, as I said, political correctness has destroyed America, and it has destroyed Black America. And Trump is not politically correct, and that's why we love him.
That's right.
Because because the truth matters, and the truth will set you free, right?
Yes.
And that's why we love Trump, and that's why we voted for him, because he's not, like you told the story about Congress and how it's about having a career in Congress. Well, he's not looking for a career.
No.
He won. He always mentions this. He ran once and won for president. What more can you say?
That's right. That's exactly
He
right.
always rubs that in. They know it's like the left doesn't get him or something.
Well, they want to get him. They want to get him.
Literally, huh?
Literally, yeah. And listen, I believe in the power of prayer, and I think when people were praying so hard for the country, I think there is an aspect of that he answers that prayer, that he answered it with Donald Trump. I know people don't like when I say that, but I really think, just like this country was started by something that I believe was providential. I do. I don't believe America could possibly have been created by happenstance. The obstacles to creating a country at that time, going against the most powerful country in the world, the king, only a third of the population actually even agreeing with, and losing battle after battle after battle. There was something providential in this. I really believe it, and we have offered the world so much. Yes, problems, sure. Do we have warts? Absolutely.
But that needs to be recharacterized also, because I just recently began to realize that most countries are one race. The majority of countries are one race.
Yeah.
And they have infighting and tribal conflict. And even the Japanese who are not on the mainland back in the 1800s, there was a culture who were Japanese, the same race, but they sort of ostracized them. They're called the Aiku and the Okinawas too. So, people don't know world history and they don't understand human nature. And this is the problem. America is unique in that we're many races trying to get, basically it was blacks and whites initially, now it's changing into other things, but we're more than one race trying to make it happen, and it's a process.
It is, and it absolutely demands, you must have, when you have immigration without assimilation, you've got a problem.
And we're experiencing it.
We
in
are
LA,
experiencing that. We are dealing with that phenomena right now, and one of the things that the left wants is to expand. I don't know how much farther they can get, but expand the degree of ignorance that we are. They want children to be completely ignorant.
Dumbed down.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Ignorant of their history, of who we are, so you can get them out there in the streets. To protesting for this bizarre, idiotic thing, called man-made global warming.
And this woman from Sweden,
this little girl, yeah.
this little girl, she's not a woman, huh?
No, she's
but
not
she
15
sounds like
years old.
she's like putting us all in place, right?
Right. Oh, let's, gee whiz, I didn't know all that stuff. Let's let all these kids out of school run around the street and tell us what is happening in terms of climate change. No, they don't even know. They couldn't spell climate change.
But this
right?
She's a 16-year-old putting us adults in our place.
Yeah, right.
It's like so offensive, so arrogant.
And look how the media treats her, as opposed to how that they treated that young man here in Washington who was just standing there, while the Indian came up and was beating the drums. They were blaming him because he was smiling, but this kid knew more about America than this little girl from Sweden.
And she comes from a wealthy family where everyone's white, the majority, one race, here we go again.
Yeah.
And she doesn't, she's like, she's a victim now.
Yeah. Come on.
And she's like, how dare us allow this?
Well, who was that? There was a kid, wasn't it? It was also during that time when they were arguing with the kids out here, and he became sort of what was that kid's name? Koj, whatever. He was a figurehead for the left for a while.
Right, with the mass shootings.
Yeah, that's right. That's what it was. That's what it was. All of a sudden.
But and this stuff dissipates and disappears. Have you noticed?
It does, and she will too.
Fizzles out, but they're relentless.
But there'll be more.
They come back because we're pushing impeachment, even if the transcript, no matter what it says.
Who cares?
Right.
Listen, we'll tell you what is right and what isn't.
Right,
and you have to understand this too. Impeachment has got nothing to do with any sort of law. There is no, the Constitution says treason, bribery, and high crimes and misdemeanors, but there's no definition for high crimes and misdemeanors.
And it's both. You have to have both. And Al Green, I swear that congressman from Texas, he's such an embarrassment. I tweet him all the time. You're a buffoon. Get off the... You have to be the dumbest man on the planet Earth. I tweet him that all the time.
He's got his. That's quite a accomplishment, considering that there are others in the. I mean, really and truly, if anybody thinks that Congress, I was just, my God, when I got elected, I thought, oh my goodness. But then you get here and you look.
You're so disappointed, huh?
I'm okay. I'll be all right.
Isn't that the way it is sometimes?
Oh, sure. I mean, well,
you
figure, hey, they putting on their pants one leg at a time. Yeah, okay, I'll be all right here.
And then Alexander, that's what I'm thinking. There's show people.
Some are Some are. Really, it is truly a reflection. And it's supposed to be in a democracy, which we now have moved to away from a republic. But in democracy, you say, well, everyone needs to be represented. Even the dumbest people on the planet need to be represented. And I guarantee you, they are. Yeah, they're well represented.
From Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez district.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Oh man, it just.
Well, the nice way to put it, the least informed, the most unknowledgeable people, are usually people who are relatively recently arrived immigrants. They don't understand the full breadth and depth of the Constitution and what it imparts and so on and so forth.
Let me tell you another little anecdote. When I was running for president, I have no entourage. I've got I'm travel by myself, and I get this opportunity. They want us to debate, all the Republicans to debate in front of the NAACP convention in Detroit, Michigan. I said sure, okay. So I get on the plane, get off the plane. I'm walking down the thing, chewing a sandwich. I have a cap, baseball cap, and jeans. And there's a young black guy standing there with a sign that says Tancredo. And I said, oh, hi, it's me. And he said, really? I said, yeah, it's me. Okay. So he's been sent to pick me up. And we're driving. And he starts, you start the question, what are you doing here? And all these, and you could tell he's immigrant because he's speaking very precise English. And he says to me, what are you doing here? It turns out he was from Ivory Coast. What are you doing here? I said, well, I've come to speak to the NAACP convention. He goes, drive. And he says, why? And I said, well, because they asked me. Drive. Why? I said, well, because I'm running for president of the United States. He goes, nah, you're not. I don't believe it. And I said,
no, really, I am. And I start looking for my card, congressman card. And then I say, here, look, I'm a congressman. I really am. I'm running for president of the United States. I come here to debate with the other Republicans. He goes, he says, Congress. And he reaches over on the seat, and he picks up this bunch of papers. And he says, 435 members of the House, 100, because he's learning to become an American. He's speaking English.
Right.
I said to him, buddy, you could pull this car over right now, roll down the window, ask anybody walking down these streets.
And they don't know that.
They wouldn't have the slightest idea
Right.
what the hell these answers are. And they're really easy stuff, believe me.
Right.
But no, they wouldn't know. It's too stupid. This guy's trying. He wants a job. He's learning the language. He wants to become an American. And he said to me, I want to be an American. I said, you are just exactly the immigrant we want in this country.
Right.
I said, when do you take your test? He said, July 19th. I still remember him telling me that. Well, we sent him a flag and a bunch of stuff, on that day. I pray to God that I'm sure he passed and that everything went well. But that's exactly who I want as a immigrant. And by the way, we get to the convention center. Mm-hmm. I go in, get ready. They send me into the green room. I get, I got put the makeup and stuff and everything, and I go out. And I look around. This is one presidential debate I won, absolutely, hands down. I won it. I beat. There was no two ways about it, because I was the only Republican that showed up. 9 podiums. I'm the only one there. I stood up and I looked around and I said to them when I went out, I said, well, you think we would wait another 5 minutes? These other guys will show up, And it was a full-blown, Juan Williams. It was a panel. It was a presidential debate. I got to answer all the questions. They booed me sometime, but they gave me a standing ovation because I showed up.
Well, because I think Republicans feel like Black Americans are just stuck on being a Democrat.
Yeah.
They can't get off.
They figured
But now with Trump, and I came to this realization last night, I think Republicans don't need Black Americans to become president. They don't need us. But Black Americans need Republicans. They need those standards. They need those values. Yeah, that's why I need to get on that national stage and talk to these folks, because
yes, you do. Man.
Yes, because I know we're talking about values, we're talking about standards, okay? We're not talking about these other issues like racism. Black Americans look at one tree in the forest and it's like the racism tree. But life is a forest, and you have to understand human nature, and you have to know world history and put things in proper context. So this is important, and Republicans don't need Black Americans to become president. And in fact, Candace Owens just said the other day on a panel she was on that after 2020, our votes, the Black American vote, is officially irrelevant, given the demographics. So all this time, isn't that sad?
That is interesting.
It's been irrelevant all along, really. But at least symbolically, we've been voting. Democrats needed our vote. Republicans didn't need our vote. Democrats needed our vote. But now with the demographic shift, Latinos outnumbering us, our vote, who cares? You don't matter.
If people just understood, if blacks and Hispanics and
I think
people
Hispanics are coming around, though.
They
Latino Americans.
seem to be.
Yeah.
If they just recognize the fact that massive immigration, both legal and illegal, massive immigration of low-skilled, low-wage people hurts them more than anybody else in the society. It reduces their wage rates. It takes jobs away from them who have been here for generations.
Right.
The focus should be on people who live here in this country. Our immigration policy should be based on one thing: what's good for America.
Exactly.
Right? And it shouldn't be based on race. I couldn't care less what color you are.
Right.
Your ethnicity.
Just Americans.
What can you
Are you an
contribute?
American?
That's right. And
Yeah.
will you become an American?
Are you desirous of becoming an American?
Yeah.
Well, we've got away from that. And in fact, in the 1800s, W.E.B. Du Bois, Frederick Douglass, Marcus Garvey, and Booker T. Washington talked about the fact in the 1800s and black intellectuals that high immigration took jobs away from black Americans.
That's right.
Yeah, they talk. But see, black Americans, they need to learn this information. They suffer, this is what Dr. Amos Wilson said, black Americans suffer from a lack of knowledge. So I'm trying to get, that's so pathetic that, you've been with the Democrats, they've been in charge of the public schools this long, and you don't have the knowledge to maneuver properly and effectively in society. That's the problem.
Oh, let me tell you, you are, I think, the greatest breath of fresh air
that can be on the radio, and you deserve a bigger stage, and I hope you get it. And if I had one to give you, you'd have it.
Okay, I appreciate you coming in, Tom.
It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, and it's been a wonderful interview, and I appreciate. This is my first time here, and it's been.
Well, you've done a great job.
Thank you
It's
very
not
much.
my first time, and so I can tell you did a great job.
I appreciate it. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed my interview with Tom Tancredo. I enjoyed doing it. I hope you enjoyed listening to it. And next week, we're going to be hearing my pre-recorded interviews with Angel Mom, Marianne Mendoza. So see you next week.